I feel like it's time to do some more European buildings, and I've been wanting to make a graveyard diorama for a while, so I searched for some reference photos of an old European church with tombstones around it, and I found old church panelled. I don't know much about the history of it, but I like the way it looked, so I started modeling right away. With this building, I allowed myself to have some creative freedom and used the reference only for inspiration. But anyway, believe it or not, it printed on the first try without any errors. Next, the print is washed with IPA and then cured. By the way, I decided it's a good idea to move my videos about 3D modeling and resin printing to a separate channel. So if you are interested in modeling with Blender for resin printing, check it out. Alright, all the boring stuff out of the way. For the base of the diorama, I use expanded polystyrene. I glued two pieces on top of each other. For this, I use normal wood glue. While waiting for the glue to dry, I print the tombstones. I have a video about how I made it on my other channel. Next, I spent some time planning how I'm going to position the old church and tombstones. Once I'm happy, I remove it and start cutting and shaping the base. I once again use my homemade sculptor mold, and yes, I have a video about making it. After about 10 minutes, it's starting to cure and it becomes easier to smooth it out. I also use some normal plaster to smooth it out even more. This can take a few days to dry depending on the humidity. Anyway, once dry, I sand the edges and make sure it's as square as possible. It's crazy how much better a diorama can look when you put some effort into making the edges look nice. For this, I'm gonna use 2mm balsa plywood. I again use wood glue to attach this, and I use some sewing pins to hold it in place as the glue dries. The balsa wood is soft enough to be cut with a Stanley knife like this. I then use some more plaster to fill in the remaining gaps on the edges. I also flip it over and do the same on the underside. Then the pins are removed and some sanding is done to achieve a nice smooth finish. I already like how this is looking. After making sure I still like the placement of the tombstones, I give it a brown base coat. And then start focusing on painting the old church. To start off, I paint the insides black. This is basically to stop light from being able to shine through the walls. Also, I forgot to mention, I will be painting this building using mostly acrylic paints. To make the model look less perfect, I basically cover it with a thin layer of plaster. This adds a nice mortar texture. I use my hobby knife to remove any unwanted plaster in the windows. This is how it looks now. I just wanna say I've never painted a building like this using acrylics, and with every step I thought I was going to mess it up. I knew overthinking wasn't gonna help, so I told myself to just start and try my best. So, looking at the reference, the roof is a bit darker grey, but it's all basically the same color, which is making it even more challenging to make it look good without it looking like it's painted with one color. Anyway, I started with a brown base coat, and then removed some more plaster in some areas. I first focused on painting the roof before the walls, because I didn't want to possibly ruin the paint on the walls while handling it to paint the roof. I then took a break from painting the building and gave the tombstones their first layer. This is how it looks now. Next, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just tried different things that I thought would improve it, so I edited into a montage. I decided to glue the tombstones in place at this point to make it easier to blend them in with the ground texture, but first I need some trees. Looking at the reference, there are some small trees along the path to the entrance. I have no idea what type of trees they are, but I decided to make apple trees. This is probably my favorite method for making twist wire trees. I try my best to make the branches look like apple trees. I don't really know how to explain much of this. All I can say is look at the reference. Then I gave the trunk and branches a few layers of paint to remove the twisted wire appearance. Moving on, the foliage material is made using batting material. I apply PVA glue all over it using a brush like this. I try to get as much glue as possible on it without it starting to stick together. I then apply scatter material all over it. This is how it looks after. To attach it to the trees, I first apply some glue to the tips of the branches and then simply cut a small piece of the material and attach it like so. And then the process gets repeated for all the trees. I didn't like the color of the trunks and branches, so I decided to paint them a bit darker brown. Adding apples is very easy. Simply apply glue in some spots and then sprinkle your apples onto the tree. I bought these apples years ago and I actually don't remember what brand they are. After applying the apples, I sprinkle over some more leaves just to hide the leftover visible glue. And that's it for the trees. The next step will absolutely transform and make it look much more realistic, and that's the ground texture. Collecting dirt outside is by far the cheapest and easiest method. I mix some light grey and brown dirt. This is because it tends to dry a bit darker than the original color. I wasn't sure how it would look once dry, so I did a quick test on a piece of paper. On the topic of ground texture, I have a video showing 5 different DIY scenery materials. Make sure to check it out if you are interested. To apply the ground texture, I first remove the building and trees. Next, I cover the entire area with glue, making sure not to get any glue on the tombstones. For me, it's the easiest to apply the ground texture using a cup or something like this. I've seen people like Luke Towan apply it through a very fine material like a stocking, but I still want to allow the bigger bits in the ground texture to be applied. But use what works best for you. I use a soft paint brush to remove ground cover in unwanted areas. To glue it all down, I first spray soapy water to break the surface tension, and then apply diluted glue like this. This also takes a while to dry. Next, I used some chalk pastels to do some basic weathering. I found that this made it all blend a bit better together. What I mean is, it makes it look like it's from one scene. Like it removes the clean greys and blends it all together. I still don't know if that made sense. Anyway, let's move on to static grass. First, I cut a piece of cardboard to cover the floor plan of the building. This is how I can apply static grass up to the edge of the building without the building getting in the way. I again use normal wood glue for the static grass glue. By the way, I just wanna say I don't have much experience with static grass, and there would probably be many better methods to go about applying static grass here. Anyway, after attaching the ground wire of the static grass applicator, I simply start shaking the applicator about 2 to 4 centimeters above the surface and let it do its magic. And that's it for the first layer of static grass. This is the first time I was trying to layer static grass and I didn't really know what I was doing, so I think it's best if I just show you. Next, I make a dark brown oil wash to weather the tombstones with. The main purpose of the wash is to increase the contrast to make the writings on the tombstones more visible. And the final step is to paint the edges. I decided to paint them black. You could also paint them with a wood varnish, whatever you prefer. And that completes the diorama. If you have any suggestions on how I could improve it, please let me know.